Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to have a look at a beer that I think will be really quite interesting, and just because of the nature of how this beer was brewed I'm going to have to change the format of the video a little bit to kind of fit everything in. So for this review then, we are going to have a look at the official Malmö Beer Week beer from 2020. This one is a 6% double dry hopped West Coast IPA. It was brewed at Hyllie Bryggeri and their facility that they share with Limhamns Bryggeri, but it's actually a collaboration between 12 of the different breweries in the Malmö area. And I have to admit that before doing a little bit of research on this beer, I had no idea that there were 12 different breweries in Malmö. I thought it was about 6 or 7 actually, so it just kind of goes to show you that even though I'm 10-15 minutes away, I really had no idea of the extent of the Malmö beer scene actually. So this one is a really nice one to do, and I always enjoy reviewing the GBG Beer Week beer every year, so hopefully this is something that that does become an annual fixture, if you like. I'd like to support the Malmö beer scene, of course. But this beer was released through Systembolaget here in Sweden on the 13th of March 2020, and the Malmö Beer Week I believe took place in the first or second week of March 2020. So hopefully next year I can go along and get a little bit of get involved a little bit and try some of the different things, because a number of these breweries I haven't heard of before. So just to list the different breweries that were involved in this one. So there's Hyllie Bryggeri, who of course brewed the beer. There's Malmö Brewing Company, one of my favourites. Elmeleven, who I hadn't heard of. Nerd Brewing, very known for their imperial stouts. Limhamns Bryggeri, who I have heard of. BrewBros and Secret Sisters. I hadn't heard of BrewBros, but I remember seeing Secret Sisters on social media somewhere. Rocket Brewing Company, originally from Copenhagen, now in Malmö. Hasse Fasan, who I hadn't heard of. Giant Brothers, who I also hadn't heard of. Kapusta, who are also new to me. And then South Plains Brewing, who I tried not that long after I moved to Sweden back in 2015. Been a long time since I had one of their beers actually. I need to sort that out. But yeah, 12 different Malmö breweries involved in this one, and hopefully it turns out to be a very nice beer. I can tell you one thing, making the description box with all the links to the breweries and stuff in this one is going to be a pain in the backside, but we will do it because you know, some of these breweries, as I say, this is the first time that they are appearing on the channel. But I searched for a number of them on Systembolaget and you can't get their beers, but I'll tell you why in a little bit. But really looking forward to trying this one. Good to support the Malmö beer scene, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. We will make it very short since there are 12 of them, otherwise we'd be here all day. You can check out the websites and stuff for them in the description below. All my social media is down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, which is pretty much all the time. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to the brewery notes then, just to tell you briefly about each brewery then. So brewery number 1, where the beer was brewed, Hyllie Bryggeri. This one was founded back in 2015 by Michael Nathorst. Recently this year they also moved into, or I think it was last year, sorry, they moved into a new facility, and I believe that Michael has a background as a plumber. So for a long time he was working 1 day a week at the brewery and then 4 days as a plumber, which was pretty interesting. Limhamns Bryggeri then. So Limhamns Bryggeri was founded by Peter Mack, Dan Holmer and Jens Borgström, and they started brewing back in 2014. Like I said, they have a shared brewery along with Cycle Pipes and Hyllie Bryggeri, and it is down in that sort of Limhamn area. South Plains Brewing was founded by Jeffrey Scott Brown back in 2012. He's American, if I remember correctly, and it's based in an old sausage factory in the south of Malmö. Malmö Brewing Company, one of my favourite breweries in Sweden. They were founded back in 2002 by Anders Hansson, who is very distinctive because of his big beard that he has. I always enjoy his Facebook posts where he just posts like beer, nice, and then a picture of the beer. It's always quite funny. But these guys are a brew pub and they're based in the old Tjärn building, which you can find in Möllan in Malmö. Just watch yourself if you go down to Mullen itself. You can meet some strange characters down there, but Malmö Tap Room is awesome. One of my favourite beer places I've found in Sweden. Rocket Brewing. These guys were originally from Copenhagen. They founded back in 2014, but they moved over to Sweden in 2018, and the current owners are Kim Agersten, Joel Carlson, Aaron Hallborg, Carl Anderson and Richard Zetterberg. And I need to go and meet them and film a little interview with them. They invited me to go down to the brewery, of course, so you will see more of them on the channel over the next little while. Nerd Brewing. So these guys are a gypsy brewery that was founded by Hannes Gruber back in 2015, and they're known for their imperial stouts. They have done a few other things, but you will see a lot of lovely imperial stouts for Nerd Brewing. They've won a hell of a lot of awards. For quite a long time, these guys were, I think they still are actually, the best rated brewery on Rate Beer from Sweden actually, and I think an Untappd as well, so keep an eye out for them. Secret Sisters Brewing. This is one brewery that was new to me. So these guys are part of the microbrewery collective -1, or -1, I should say, at the Bishop's Arms in Gustav Adolf's Torrey. They've got a little brewery in the basement, so there's a number of the breweries involved in this one have brewed their beers there. But at Secret Sisters Brewing, it's Irina Karlen, Erika Noren, Natalie Eriksson and Paulina Nordling, who are the 4 women behind this brewery. And they've brewed a good couple of beers actually. You can check them out on Untappd. There was a fair number of different things there. Kapusta Brewing. This is another brewery that are in the -1 Brewing Collective, and this one is run by Christian Kapusta, and they had produced a good number of beers as well. I think it was at least 50 or 8, it might have been 80 that these guys had produced. They had an impressive number of different beers, but these guys, neither Secret Sisters or Kapusta, are in Systembolaget yet because they don't obviously produce enough volume for that. Elmeleven are also in the -1 collective, and this one was founded by Anders Kvist, and apparently Elmeleven and Kapusta are big fans of Belgian beer, so they're working together to produce a few different sour beers. So Giant Brothers, this was founded by brothers Simon and Andreas Lehmann back in 2016. These guys are also part of -1. Hasse Fasan, another -1 member, they also now though have their own brewery on the outskirts of Malmö. I couldn't find too much information on that brewery actually. But then you've got BrewBros Malmö, which is the last one that we talk about, and this one was founded by Milos Savic and Timo Wedel, and they're another member of the -1 Brewing Collective. So yeah, there's a lot of these breweries. To find their beers, you probably have to go to quite a few of the different, you need to go to places like Beer Ditch and Malmö Brewing Company. As I say, about, let me see, out of the 12 breweries involved here, I've had Hyllie on the channel, Malmö Brewing Company, but they're a brew pub of course. I've had Nerd Brewing, I've had Limhamns, I've had Rocket, and I've had South Plains. So 6 of the breweries involved in this one I have never reviewed for you on the channel. That's something I would love to do actually, because I know that a couple of them do bottle their beers, so maybe I'll need to be cheeky and ask them if they can sort me out with a bottle or two. I'd love to introduce more of the Malmö breweries on the channel for you here, but as I say, when 6 out of 12 of them aren't available in Systembolaget, we're not allowed to buy beer in the bars here to take home either. I might need to be cheeky and just message them and ask them if they can give me a few bottles. I don't like doing that, but as I say, it would be interesting to try a few of these different breweries for you here on the channel. But yeah, really nice to have this beer for you, to introduce you to 6 new breweries from the Malmö area, and hopefully this isn't the last time that you see these breweries on the channel either. So yeah, as I told you at the start of the video, this one, that's all you need to know about the different breweries. I'll put all the links and stuff in the description below, and I'll also put the link to the Malmö Beer Week website as well. But as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty damn nice. The artist, incidentally, is Matthias Supreme Lundesen, and yeah, 6.0% double dry hopped West Coast IPA. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. I'm really curious to see what this one has in store for us, although it says, I'm sure I read that this was supposed to be a West Coast. It says double dry hop West Coast IPA, but it's got wheat malt in it, so that should be quite interesting. But let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. As I said, this beer was brewed at Hyllie Bryggeri and it was released on the 13th of March 2020 as part of the Tillfälligt assortment all across Sweden actually, by Systembolaget here in Sweden. So yeah, pretty cool. So as you can see with this one, oh, I can tell you the aroma on this smells lovely actually. This has got to have either Simcoe or Idaho 7 or something coming out of it. Maybe a bit mosaic, I think, as well, just going from the aromas that are coming out of there. But as you can see, this beer's poured a lovely pale golden straw type colour. If I shine the light through that, definitely quite a bright yellow pale golden straw. There's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall it does look pretty nice. And if you look, you can see this one, it does have a degree of haze to it, but you know, as a West Coast IPA, it is just going to have a little bit of the haze to it. This is definitely one of the more yellow looking West Coast IPAs that I've come across. Normally you expect them to be a little bit more kind of amber or something like that. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out actually, because this is the trend with craft beer these days. It tends to be going towards the lower bitterness and juiciness thing, whereas the old school West Coast IPAs were very high in bitter, you know, 70, 80 IBUs, sometimes more than that, and now it's changing quite a lot. The more modern takes on the West Coast IPA tend to be a little bit lower in bitterness, so I'm curious to see what this one has in store for us. But let's have a look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Ooh yeah, so straight away there's a nice little bit of a kind of bready malt base to the beer. You can definitely pick up a little bit of that white bready wheat. There's a wee bit of a kind of biscuity quality in there as well. The malt base comes across as quite simple, I think, just kind of white bready and wheaty. You can pick up a little bit of the pale malty notes. Going from how the aroma comes out, I do wonder if there's a little bit of a Pilsner malt to this one, because it just smells a little bit more astringent almost. You can smell a little bit of the Pilsner malt coming out of this, and it's Pilsner malt doesn't even really have such a distinctive aroma. It's just the way it sort of affects the feel, the vibe you get from the other malts in the beer. So you really get that out of this one. So yeah, lovely bit of kind of smooth white bready note, as I said. There's a wee bit of a biscuity quality in there, and also a little bit of a sweet. There's a wee teeny bit of a sweet kind of caramel note in there, so it does have the sweetness that you expect of a West Coast IPA, but it does strike me, going from the aroma, this one, I think it's going to be a more modern take on the West Coast IPA, rather than being the big oily caramelly thing that we would have had back in the day. But yeah, malt base comes across quite nicely, I have to say. Quite a crisp, I think this is going to be quite a crisp IPA. But yeah, in terms of the green side of the hops, for me there's a good bit of a floral aromaticity with this one. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of Columbus being used as a base in this actually, just from the way the floral notes are coming out, because it really, on the green side of the hops, it has a wee bit of earthiness, but it really does lean towards the kind of floral aromatic side of things. Yeah, and you've also got a little bit of a lighter sort of grassy quality to this one as well, definitely. But on the fruity side of things, for me, there's a wee bit of a kind of, there is a bit of passion fruit to this one. It leans towards that tropical end of things. There's a wee bit of an orange, you know, I'm tempted to say there is a bit of mosaic in this, because it does have that juicy tangerine orange. There is a wee bit of a kind of lemon, not really lemon, more of a limey note to this one, and if it's lime, you know, it could be Equinaut, it could be Malteke rather, from New Zealand. It could, you know, Citra can also give you a little bit of a lemon limey note depending on what it's mixed with. So for me there is a wee bit of lime in here. On the tropical notes though, there's a wee bit of mango, there's a wee bit of a passion fruity note, but otherwise it's quite, you know, it really is quite, it's quite an interesting one this. It really does, to me, it strikes me as more of one of these modern takes on the West Coast IPA. I had a really good West Coast IPA from Bibliothèque recently. It was the, I can't believe, was it called I Can't Believe This Is Happening? Or something like that. But the West Coast IPA I had from Bibliothèque recently was very, very nice. I was really impressed with that. And it was different. It wasn't quite as sweet as you'll get from the likes of a Sculpin or a Torpedo or whatever. But yeah, it was really quite nice. But I think this one is going to be a little bit like that one that I had from Bibliothèque. So yeah, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. But we'll have a taste of this now and see how we go. And this one is the official beer of Malmö Beer Week 2020. A collaboration between 12 of the local breweries here in Malmö, and released on the 13th of March 2020 through the Tillfälligt Sortimentssystembolag. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. That's nice, yeah. It is, yeah, it is definitely one of these more modern takes on the West Coast IPA, if you like. And the thing that I should mention probably is that this beer, it was brewed at Hyllie Bryggeri, and their sort of flagship beer, if you like, is the Hyllie, which is, you know, it's an old school West Coast IPA. If I remember right, I think it's Simcoe and Citra that are in it, if I remember correctly, and it's brewed using the US 05 yeast strain, which is a really kind of classic old school, a really sort of classic old school home brewing yeast, if you like. So Hyllie Pan's, for me, Hyllie Pan, I really like it. It's a very sort of nostalgic beer, and that's kind of probably, if this beer's been brewed by them, that's maybe the reason why it's a West Coast IPA. Rather than a New England, which is all the rave these days. But this one is really quite nice, and you know, knowing what Michael at Hyllie Bryggeri likes, I'm not surprised this beer's turned out the way it has. It's good, this. I mean, if you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. It's definitely got a wee bit of that. It's definitely got a wee bit of the Hyllie Pan vibe about it actually, which is nice. But you can feel a little bit of the dustiness from the dry hopping in this one as well, which is good. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this one down then. I mean, it's a very straight up beer, this, and normally, you know, festival beers are meant to be like that. They're meant to be pretty straight up and nice and drinkable, and they've got the balance here really quite nicely, I think. So middle of your palate, you can feel that nice smooth white bready wheaty quality that just blankets the middle of your tongue. In the centre of your palate, you've got a nice, you do have a little bit of a sweeter caramel there. You can feel a little bit of the boozy notes coming out of this beer, but it's not like such a strong caramel. It might be a little bit of crystal or something like that. You do get a little bit of that in this beer, but you can feel that this one is a little bit boozier because it doesn't have the big sweet oily base that you would normally get from the West Coast IPAs. But yeah, it is definitely more of a kind of modern take on the West Coast IPA rather than being old school, if that makes sense. But as you move further out from the centre of your palate, you do get a little bit more of a kind of biscuity quality in there. But yeah, I really do like how this I do like how this one goes together actually. It's nice. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I do wonder if Hyllie might re-release this as one of their own beers or something. That'd be quite cool actually if they did that, because I think this is, you know, this is a really solid quite sessionable IPA, to be honest with you. When you go towards the back of the palate with this one, you can feel the sort of wheaty base that this beer has, and there's a bit of that lighter pale malty quality in there as well, but when you go to the back of the palate, you really can pick out a bit of that almost pilsnery malt quality. That, I really think that is becoming a trend here in Scandinavia with all of the, you know, with all of the different, there's a lot of different breweries using pilsner malt here to crispen up their IPAs and things like that. So that's a really interesting point about this. As I say, middle of the palate, there is a little bit of a sweetness to it, but then as you move further out, it's more kind of biscuity and things. If you go to the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness, and that'll be from the mosaic. I think there's mosaic in this, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you've got a little bit of a kind of floral aromaticity to the beer. It's not too spicy. I do wonder if I was wrong when I said I thought there might be Columbus in this one. I think I probably was wrong with that from the aroma, but you can get a nice little bit of floral aromaticity there. Then around the front curve of the palate, the beer's just a little bit lighter and more grassy. Then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me, the fruity side of this beer, if you go towards the back of the oily part of the palate there is a good little bit of that slightly darker passion fruity note, and as you come further forward from that, you maybe start to get a wee bit of mango out of it, but I think that's quite minimal. I think this one is, I've got a feeling that this one might be, it'll either be Galaxy and Mosaic, or it'll be Citra and Mosaic. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, you've got a bit of that darker tropical fruit there, and as you come further forward you will get a little bit of a lighter kind of mango-y note there, and as you reach the front part of that tip of your tongue, it's a kind of tangerine-y, orangey sort of thing, and you can really feel around the edge of your palate with this beer. You can feel the sort of dustiness that you get from the dry hopping as well, and as you go further into the aftertaste, I think there's just a little touch of a limey flavour comes out of this one, and that's one of the things that's making me wonder if it's Citra along with the mango notes. You know, those two things are coming out quite nicely in this beer actually. So I like how this one goes together. It's got a very nice kind of combination of flavours actually. It does strike me as being a little bit more old school. I'd be curious to know what the yeast strain in this one was, because it is oddly familiar actually. Could be Cefal. I don't think it's US05. It might be one of the old school Cefals or something like that. It might be a new one that's bred from some of these more old school ones. But yeah, I like how this goes together. This beer, as I say, it gets a thumbs up from me. It doesn't do anything kind of overly surprising. It is more of a modern take on the West Coast IPA as well, but it has everything you would kind of want from a modern take on the West Coast IPA, but definitely not quite a sweet one as was the case as I had with the 40th Hoppy 40th from Sierra Nevada. Actually, it's quite different from that. But yeah, this one really was quite nice actually, so thumbs up to all 12 of the breweries involved here, and nice to review a beer from some of these guys on the channel for the first time. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, yeah, I mean it's quite mid-bodied, the carbonation is quite smooth, it leans towards the, it does lean a little bit towards the oily side of things, but it does have a degree of crispness to it as well. In terms of bitterness, I think we're talking about 50, maybe 60 IBUs with this one. It is a bit heavier in its bitterness compared to some of the other beers I've had in recent times. So yeah, it's got a little bit of that going for it. Malt base is quite smooth, like I said, there's a little touch of sweetness to it, and then there's a nice little bit of juicy, oily, fruity character to the beer as well. So yeah, I've enjoyed reviewing this one. I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. And the 6 breweries that I hadn't encountered in this one, I would be very curious to try more of their beers. And I'll also complain on this one about Malmö Brewing Company not bottling or canning yet. They really need to get their beers out there a little bit more, because they're very, very prolific. They've got some great beers. Simcoe Lightning, Canned Wheat, things like that. I'd love to see Malmö Brewing Company, you know, at least even doing one canning batch per month or something like that, and sticking it out there for the whole of Sweden. It really is a shame that they don't do that. But yeah, you know, it's great to see the Malmö beer scene is thriving, and hopefully next year I can get a little bit more involved or whatever in the beer scene here. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the official Malmö Beer Week 2020 beer, and it turned out to be very, very nice. So a big shout out to all 12 of the breweries involved here. Let me just read them to you again. Hyllie Bryggeri, who brewed the beer, Malmö Brewing Company, one of my favourites, Elmeleven, who are new to me, Nerd Brewing, the big Imperial Stout Brewery, Limhamns Bryggeri, who do some nice sessionable beers, BrewBros that are new to me, Secret Sisters, who are also new, Rocket Brewing, who emigrated from Copenhagen, Hasse Fasan, who are new to me, Giant Brothers, who are new to me, Kapusta, who are also new to me, and then South Plains, who I really need to revisit. A big shout out to all the breweries involved in this one, and this was a really nice little beer to review for you here on the channel. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one, and hopefully I can review some more of these breweries for you on the channel in the future. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skull, cheers. Make sure you check out this beer and check out some of the Malmö breweries if you get the chance. Cheers.